Hello, hello, and welcome to this episode of the Be Free podcast. I have the lovely Michelle with me today. And Michelle has actually been on the podcast before. I was checking because you did a beautiful masterclass for my members when I had my membership
Yes.
back in March 2022.
Wow.
Year and a half ago. And obviously, I know your life's changed since then. You've shifted home back to your home country, and I just wanted to get you back on. You can explain obviously what you do and things, but from my take, Michelle is like a hormone expert. I love her take on nutrition, hormonal health, menstrual cycle health, and I know that so many people, it's kind of really in the spotlight right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to just get you back on and share your wisdom and magic with the listeners and viewers. And do you want to do a little intro to who you are?
Thanks, Susie. It's lovely to be back. I can't believe it was that long ago. Wow, that shows you how fast life goes as well.
Yeah, totally.
So, for those who haven't heard me before, my name is Michelle Walsh. I suppose I'm known kind of now as the happy period coach. And I help women to not settle for the norm, as in period problems are normal. There's nothing you can do about any hormonal imbalances. I always believe even that one step, that 1% towards the goal that we are trying to achieve. I've moved back to Ireland recently, obviously the last 4 months, and even I'm amazed even at the amount of women, to be honest, that I see constantly coming into me for things like sleep problems, anxiety, um, some young girls even being diagnosed with anxiety, PCOS, but not really given any, I suppose, support on the next steps as well. And I suppose I'm all about the 1%. It's about, look, even if it takes a year, it's about what's the next step you can do to get in the best possible, physical, emotional, spiritual health that you can. And I guess that's, how I'm in this space.
Yeah, amazing. And I love that. Happy period coach. I think as you say, we've kind of grown up with this generational thing that periods are painful. It should be a struggle, of course, unless you're like in a Tampax advert where you can skip run cycle.
Yeah.
But generally it's like, oh, it's going to be painful, and it's a horrid thing. And
Pain, take this tablet.
yes,
No.
yeah,
What's
exactly.
causing the pain? It's really moving away from the way, and I mean that's what I'm very passionate about. It's moving away from the conversation of how we were brought up. If you went into a shop, your period was something to feel guilty about or ashamed, and you were hiding your tampon packs, and you were mortified if there was a man on the till that you had to pay for, or that it was normal to have to spend 3 or 4 days a month either not leaving the house, which I've seen some clients do on heavy periods, or period pain, and just accepting that things that's normal, or that the pill is your only solution. And I always like to describe it as, and I work even now, surprisingly, it wasn't intentional, but suddenly I have clients as young as 15 now that I'm seeing about period education, which is fantastic. Although I'm trying to be cool now to speak to a 15-year-old.
Yeah, you are cool. You are cool. If you check out Michelle's Instagram, she's good. She's good.
It's very different. But the way I like to describe it to people is, and I did a local fair at the weekend, the Listowel Food Fair in Ireland, and we had a whole gut hormone morning, which was amazing. But I like to describe your period as the messenger. And I say, if you're on a deserted island, and there's no phone service through the whole month, no internet, if your hormones are not happy through the month, then the week of your period is when your phone service kicks in. And through your period, your hormones will tell you they're not happy, being heavy, painful, energy, mood, cravings. And again, all hormonal imbalances is a very umbrella term. We're all different in how we experience it. But it's the messenger, it's not the problem. So it's I suppose diving back to what's causing this, and that can be very different for everybody. I had 35 women in the room that day, and I said I could go around to each one of you, and your root cause is going to be very different because our lives are different.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's such an interesting take to see it that way, because I've had so many kind of challenges navigating this whole perimenopausal time in my life and really kind of working to befriend my cycle. And it was the messenger, right? And I kept going to the doctor, and I'm like, no, this is definitely hormonal because this and this is happening at this time. And they're like, no, 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 here, have some antidepressants. I'm like, no, I don't want to go down
Yeah.
that route. So then I was just kind of left in this
Limbo.
of depression and anxiety and all the other things. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening to me? Like, so I think, yeah, it's such a valuable, like you call it, your kind of superpower. And I remember it was maybe on the last podcast or just us speaking, you mentioned like the key things that you can look at for people's health. Do you know what I mean? Like was like blood pressure, such and such, and then you'd mentioned their period or something.
Yeah, because I think it was 1993, the American Association of Obstetricians, they basically stated that period is like it's the fifth vital sign. And they said it was for teenagers because it's a barometer of health. I tend to just, in my opinion, spread that out to women overall. Like I said, your body will shut down non-essential components, I suppose, of living and life, of being a woman, when it sees a threat in danger. I spoke about 3 steps, and stress and nervous system regulation was one of them. And as much as we've come along in 2023, I had to look at the date there for a minute.
Yeah.
2023, I'm a bit lost in dates. Our brain is still primitive. It still responds the same way. Our endocrine system responds the same way. We have our control center in our brain, our hypothalamus, who will then start sending signals to pituitary gland. I call it the chef and the head chef in the kitchen. And then they start kind of, talking to the rest of the kitchen. I think I spoke about that last time. And it will shut down non-essential things. Fertility, anything to do with sex organs. And fertility isn't just about getting pregnant. It's essentially ovulation. And that's what's happening in perimenopause, right? We're not ovulating every month now. We're having anovulatory cycles as well. So your hormones, instead of kind of going on this wave, you're getting the ups, the downs, as you said, you're riding that wave as well. So it doesn't matter what stage you're at, whether you're trying to get pregnant or not. It's that misconception that, oh, I'm not trying to get pregnant. I don't care about ovulation. Happy periods, happy hormones, ovulation. We need to ovulate in order to produce progesterone. Our body shuts that down, whether we're trying to get pregnant or not. It just will go. And, that's why our period is a direct, just like your blood pressure and your heart rate. It can tell us a lot when periods go missing. Why is that? Is there a lot of stress? Is there gut issues? Is there a lot of nervous system stuff going on? We mightn't think we're stressed. Your body's telling you a different story, but we're so used to riding the wave on a high the whole time and expecting to be up, 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 type A. As I say, it's the whispers at the start, but sometimes it's the screams eventually. And unfortunately, it's really kind of as we come into perimenopause that your body starts going, now you're going to pay attention.
Yeah, totally. It's like everything you never paid attention to in your whole life is like,
You
now's
got
the
away with
time,
it.
lady.
You get away with it in the 20s and 30s. I always say, what you do now will influence 10 years' time down the road, how you are. Which is why, even for me, it's great now getting to speak to younger girls as well. I even had some teachers come up to me at the weekend asking me would I get involved in some well-being, and this was not a route that I really planned on going down. But I wish I had this information in school. It might have been very different how I felt about myself in my late teens and early 20s.
Yeah, I do. I think there is so much. Well, my daughter's 14, and I think there's so much kind of still like shame around it and embarrassment and all those kind of things. And thankfully she's been to a beautiful healer locally who's supported her and kind of befriending her cycle a bit as opposed to just hating it, and obviously she has me doing all my witchy woo menstrual blood stuff. So, it's like it's just there. It's not even a thing anymore. But yeah,
it is, isn't it? It's not, it's weaving it in a way that it's just a normal part of life. It's not, as I say, schoolyard kind of talk as well. And it's great when I'm talking to my younger clients, because I even ask, what's going on in the yard? What's the conversation? And we do like a fact and myth, because a lot of things get thrown around the yard that it's just hearsay. And I have a little girl, she's only 7, 28, and a little boy as well. And even now I'm starting to weave the conversation in,
Yeah.
about periods and what it is. Now I'm not diving full, she's not ready for that conversation yet, but I don't want to suddenly have to teach her at
Hmm.
12 when I've had a lot of parents come to me and say that's one of the things I feel really guilty about is I didn't prepare my daughter. I just
Hmm.
suddenly she just hid it from me, or she taught that she got it. One lady told me she told her daughter said, I get it, and that's it. She didn't realize that she got it month after month.
Oh,
And
bless.
it's suddenly this time is, hormones are fluctuating as well. The
Yeah.
adolescent years and the perimenopause years are the most turbulent in terms of
Yeah.
hormones. So
Together, it's magic.
yeah, yes. So yeah, I want it to be as well that I'm weaving it in now, bit by bit. So
Hmm.
that conversation isn't a shock at 10, you
Yeah.
know? And I guess that's
Definitely.
as well kind of the conversations that I'm kind of, especially back in Ireland as well, trying to weave in, because I will have women that I'm supporting in their 30s and 40s and into their early 50s, but a lot of them then have children in that age bracket as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are the main kind of things you think that women come to you with, like right now, like just kind of a mixture of things that you support?
Um, it's changed a lot over kind of the last few years. I guess right now when I kind of think of the clients I'm working with, like I said, a lot of period education.
Mhm.
I'm getting like teenagers, parents of
Mhm.
sending teenagers to me as well. And obviously that's a very different approach than I would be working with other clients. I'm actually supporting quite a lot of fertility IVF clients, funnily enough. Now, I don't
Oh.
know, yeah, if that's my background. Obviously, my
Hmm.
fertility journey wasn't an easy one. Experiencing years of miscarriages, obviously happy ending. But I suppose I'm getting a lot of clients as well, kind of coming to me who just want to get their bodies in the best possible position that they can have. So,
Yeah.
funnily enough, it comes in waves like that.
Mhm.
And the other side of it here as well is clients who are a lot of heavy periods, don't want to go on the pill, kind of going down that route as well. And it varies. And perimenopause, but they didn't, they thought they were too young for perimenopause.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I know we're talking about perimenopause, but I don't even kind of like, you don't really hear me talk a lot about perimenopause even in the post, because hormonal imbalances, it's a huge umbrella of things.
Yeah.
It might be they are just having suddenly cannot sleep at night, but they're not really feeling that they're in perimenopause. So it's more about understanding all of the symptoms that fall under that umbrella as well, what it might be related to and how they can support themselves. Because you could have somebody in their 30s or their 50s with the same can't sleep, anxiety. So it's more about getting to the root of why that's happening instead of kind of putting labels on it all the time, which is why I
Yeah.
talk about periods, I suppose, more and cycles. So it's very inclusive for everybody as well.
Hmm. Amazing. Amazing. And I wanted to kind of touch on supplements because my feed is like I was on it this morning just before we hit record, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like another supplement, and I am very kind of I struggled with adrenal fatigue about 10 years ago, and supplementation really supported me at that time, and supporting my adrenals and getting things back on track. So, and because I am vegetarian, pescatarian, so I do eat a little bit of fish for protein, but I am quite conscious of that, and I do take quite a lot of supplementation. But I wonder, just like, what is your take on it? Because I know right now there's so many things out there that women are spending their money on. And I just,
Yeah.
do you think it's helpful or?
Yeah, I like to describe it. You know me, I like to describe things. I'm all about the visuals. That's how my brain works.
Yeah.
And I always say, look, if you're trying to build the most sturdiest, fantastic house that you want to live in, i.e., your body,
Hmm.
um, you don't start with the roof. You start with the foundations and you make sure those foundations. For me, foundations, I suppose, are using food as your pharmacy first.
Hmm.
Um, Looking after gut health, stress management, nervous system regulation, blood sugar management first. And for me, supplementation are the roof that you put on your house.
Yeah.
I take supplements. I recommend them to my supplements. What I don't do is blindly recommend supplements for
Yeah.
no
Genetic.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's individual. So I don't say, oh, Mary down the road, said this is very good for her. So I
Yeah.
should. So it's a tailored approach. And also you could be taking things that you don't need as well.
Mhm.
Like, especially minerals, things like iron and stuff. You store minerals in your body, unlike vitamins, like things like your B vitamins and your vitamin C. They're water soluble. So you'll use them, but you excrete them. That's what makes your urine turn yellow a lot of the time. If you ever take supplementation, minerals build up on your body. So they take a while to get deficient, but they take
Yeah.
a while to store back up. Um, but we know that we plow through them when people are stressed. We
Yeah.
know that there's a huge deficiency of things like, magnesium. You'll see certain countries and cultures deficient in things because of diet, because of soil.
Mhm.
I don't know if it still is. I think it is in New Zealand. There's a lot of thyroid issues because of the deficiency of selenium and things in their soil. Obviously, we have thyroid issues with iodine. So it's looking at your body as a whole. That's why when I'm doing with clients, we go through a health questionnaire, because it's like the dot to dot, the game with the drawing with the kids. It's
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
connecting the dots together to get a picture. If someone does come to me and they're vegetarian, they're not getting a lot of protein. um Sometimes I've done mineral hair analysis testing on myself,
Mhm.
just to get the status of my own minerals, to see where
Mhm.
I was at. And not surprising, I was really low in things like magnesium, in what was it, sodium, potassium. So again, there's adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
I was high in calcium, which basically meant my body wasn't, it was
Mhm.
taking it out because it was in the hair. And that's not surprising. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, we had a year of, got married last summer.
Yeah,
Of
you had a full on
course,
year.
we moved country, schools, business, we bit the bullet and we did it. And it was a very stressful time, but that wasn't a surprise when I saw those testing. So it's about thinking, okay, I probably would if somebody was having things like horrific heavy periods. Um, you we knew they were iron deficient. Of course, they're going to have to go on iron supplementation for a while, because we know heavy periods can cause iron deficiency. Iron deficiency can cause heavy periods. It's a cycle. So we can build it up back up where possible. I recommend testing first. Even my
Mhm.
vitamin D levels were really, really low. Well, actually, they weren't really, really low, but they were low. So
Mhm.
if you can test, brilliant. We know if you live in certain countries, look, vitamin D is probably going to be a problem. So it's using common sense as well, getting the right support. I don't recommend taking things forever unless there's a reason for it.
Mhm.
I love herbs. I'm not qualified in herbal medicine. I trained in aromatherapy oils as well, but I love herbs. One of my best friends is a herbalist, luckily, as well. And I usually say it's cyclical as well, like a
Yeah.
3 months for herbs. I think your body just adapts then. And I think it's kind of that unlayering, isn't it? It's a bit like backflowers and things.
Mhm.
You're unlayering, it's building up your body stores again. So supplementation is the roof on your house, but if you do not build that structure
Yeah.
first, supplements won't do a thing for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that is such a key thing that I've discovered on this whole perimenopausal journey, is that exactly that, the sleep, the everything, all the other stuff, the movement, the mental health stuff, if you yeah, the stuff won't work if
Yeah.
the other bits
It's
aren't
getting in a
equal.
relationship with the things you carry on through your life. It's
Hmm.
not about, I spoke about having that emotional attachment to your goal. And I met everyone just close their eyes. And I said, look, nobody, one person put up their hand and I said, does anyone want to share what they're struggling with? One person put up their hand and said perimenopause. I was like, well, thank you for sharing. I understand nobody else, that's fine. But I want you to have that in your head. And now I want you to close your eyes and imagine what would your life look like if that struggle was no longer there? And it wasn't, nobody had to put up their hand. Nobody, this was for them. I wasn't asking anybody to share anything, but it was knowing that there are changes that you're going to have to make.
Yeah.
And if it takes a year, it takes a year. And, to visualize what your life could look like if that was no longer a struggle. And then taking those steps towards that, no matter how small, it's the
Mhm.
1%, because a lot of us get so caught up in everything that we have to do that then
Yeah.
we do nothing. It's the freeze effect, isn't it? The
Mhm.
overwhelm, you freeze, you do nothing. And that's why I say to people, people book in for one-to-one and it might be a one-off. And I'm very clear on saying, look, then I can give you some starting points, but that is not,
Yeah,
going
something that
to,
needs
you
to
need to give
really.
yourself
Mhm.
time to do it. And because I kind of go, well, what's the alternative? You're going to be somewhere in a year. So why not make the changes, meet yourself where you're at, make the small, consistent changes that you need to get to that image you had your head in a year. And
Mhm.
even if it was 10% improved, 1% improved, you know you're
Amazing.
going in the right direction. And
Mhm.
you're going in a way as well that you're meeting yourself where you're at. You're not setting these goals in January that, people set for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and by week 3, gone.
Yeah, I love that 1% idea that, it's consistency, isn't it? Regardless, I see that in the work that I do, the spiritual work or meditation work, it's a consistency. If you stop for 1 minute and did a 1 minute meditation a day, it's going to be better than doing none. Right. Yeah. And
Yeah,
people get
exactly.
overwhelmed by the big
And
thing.
I find associating things with, I like to go in the mornings. Like we have a bit of a ritual now, since we've moved back. The whole point was to try and bring things down a little bit, a bit more of a lifestyle. And we go, we do, me and my husband, we go drop the kids off, we go for a coffee. We go do a little gym session, we go for a swim, a sauna, steam, and that's my thing. But even in that steam, I'm not great at the kind of breath work and stuff. That's something that I'm working on. So
Hmm.
I bring it into the sauna work. So
Yeah.
during the breath work in through my nose, pause and out, and I start associating that with that. So I
Hmm.
start picking the things that I want to work on. I'm not trying to work on everything. In terms of food as pharmacy, I love that, and that's my thing. I love food. I love different recipes, and that's the goal for this year: bringing different foods in for different parts of your cycle.
Hmm.
Maybe a little cookbook eventually and things like that. But for me, that's where the area that I struggle with. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm honing in on. I'm not going to get bogged down with everything. I
Hmm.
want to get more into the more grounding work, the breath work. So I'm starting to align that with other things as well
Yeah.
that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I love layering things. I was thinking about that last night. I was lying in bed and I've got a grounding mat, which helps me when I'm feeling a bit spinny and stuff. So I had like my grounding mat on my feet. I was lying on a Shakti mat. I was listening to a meditation. I'm
Oh,
like,
I've got
this
that,
is
yeah.
awesome. Like just doing it all at once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and just knowing
laid
that
up.
those things make a difference. I think people underestimate the power of the small things.
Hmm.
It could be just that 5 minutes that you need in the morning, but that sets you up. Or from a
Yeah.
food side of it, adding a bit of protein into your breakfast because it means you're going to stabilize your blood sugar levels throughout the rest of the day. Whatever is the biggest thing right now, and that's what you're struggling with,
Mhm.
focusing on that instead of everything at once.
Yeah, love that. Love that. You mentioned just briefly there just about like cycling herbs and stuff, but I know that you're quite into working with your female cycle and cyclical living. And I just wondered if you could just do like a little mini intro to that. I 100% have embraced this way of being because I was so wiped out at parts of my cycle, and rather than fight it now, I'm like, okay, I now
Yeah.
know on these days this is how I'm going to feel, and I'm more compassionate with myself, and on the days when I have more energy I can work with that. But yeah, how would you kind of implement or describe it?
I think as well, we have to remember that it's very different. So I obviously have been doing this for a very long time. This was how I kind of got on my fertility journey as well. And that's what I mean. It changes as well. You'll start to introduce it more. At the start, there is a little bit of intention. How I like to say is you can I think I sent it to your group last time. So I track. I don't need to track because now I know straight away when I've switched from one phase to the next. I can just
Yeah.
feel the energy. And I think once you're more conscious of that, it will become second nature. I think I spoke recently that when I'm in my follicular ovulatory phase, because you'll see me on the camera, on Instagram, on stories, and then you'll
Sharing
see
your
me disappear for a
banter,
week.
love it.
Yeah, because there is no filter at that time. And I think, first of all, I love working with cycles, and I do call it a cyclical superpower because I think it allows us to be kinder to ourselves as women as well, and that we don't feel that we have to be on this go go go. And especially, if we have our own business or you're very career orientated, we're
Mhm.
all busy. I'm a mum, you are. We're all kind of looking after other people, and even if you're not, you're looking after other people as well. So
Yeah.
they say, put on your own mask on the plane before you put others on. And that's why I said at the weekend, putting your to-do list on the same level, as your self-care list. And cyclical living allows you to do that. We
Mhm.
know our hormones are doing different things through each of the phases. So you
Mhm.
have your menstrual phase when you're bleeding, then you have your follicular phase once you stop bleeding, then the shortest phase, which is your ovulatory phase, which is kind of like, say, the day or two before you ovulate, the day you ovulate, the day after. And then you're moving into the luteal phase, which can be the most problematic for a lot of women. But even the luteal phase, I kind of say, has two phases almost as well. And the more you work with it, the more you'll feel it kick in. You might find the first few days of that phase actually are okay. Then suddenly the energy drops, almost like the same as the menstrual phase. It's almost like we kind of turn inward as well. But it doesn't mean that we can't be, proactive and you have to
Yeah.
lie around. What I'm saying is physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, whatever word you want to lean into, you change throughout those. And because it makes sense, right? Our hormones, unlike men who work on a 24-hour cycle, are changing. So we're very estrogen dominant in the first half of our cycle. We're very progesterone in the second half of our cycle, depending if we're ovulating then, how much progesterone we have to balance estrogen off as well. But each of those phases can still be used for things. The menstrual phase, I always say, look, if you're someone who loves the gym and is always exercising, instead of HIIT sessions, maybe doing some body weight strength. So you're conserving that energy as well,
Yeah.
so that you have the mental energy for the next phase, which are go, go, go. And how I kind of do it, even in my business, is I love the ideas kind of flow in the menstrual phase. I suppose they kind of say that, the veil between our earthly and heavenly self is at its thinnest. Our brains is, hormones obviously affect our brain chemistry, and that affects how we feel and think. So that's the time I get loads of ideas.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes too much. It's like the ADHD brain. It's like too much. So I
Yeah.
need to kind of hone it in. So writing those ideas down, thinking about it. I don't necessarily implement things. I've learned that now. I wait till the follicular ovulatory phase to do that, but I got the ideas. I know what I want to implement in the next phase. I know the social media posts I'm going to put in the ovulatory phase because that's my highest energy phase. I'm most confident. If I can, I will do kind of things that maybe are a bit harder energy wise to do. So, for example, if I had conversations I needed to have, if I can do workshops and stuff around that time, anything that involves public speaking, podcasts, and things, I will try and put them in at that time.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work. But look, if you
Yeah.
have some control over your diary, do you really want to be doing that the week your menstrual phase when you're feeling probably energetically low? You're exhausted if you have heavy periods and things. So it just helps you to work with your energy smarter, which to me is a superpower because
Yeah.
I'm still getting things done that my month to-do list, but in a way that I feel that I'm working with my energies. It means then that I'm not getting so much stress and anxiety maybe that I would have if I'd put it in a different phase.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
get very forgetful sometimes the week of my period. It's just something my brain, it doesn't, I struggle for words sometimes. So my brain works differently. Where in the ovulatory phase, it's wired. And I've looked back at myself even speaking and writing and the difference. And I think once you just any way you can start to align this in, and even through food as well, because obviously through the 4 phases of our cycle, again, we want to support what's going on with our hormones. If this is very new to people, I might start with the luteal phase because for women it's the phase they know about. It's the one
Yeah.
they're most connected with. They know they have cravings in that phase. They know their like PMT is worse in that phase. So maybe that's the phase I might start with to start recognizing, right? How can we support it during that phase? What's going on? Is there cravings? Is it salty or sugary?
I bet
So
everybody's going to be wanting
just
to reach
allows
out to
you.
you. I'm listening to you like so many people, including myself. I'm like, yeah, that was my daughter last week.
Yeah. But the most important thing is low and slow. Take it step by step, because what I don't want is for people to get so overwhelmed and they go, what in God's name is this? I
Yeah.
don't know. Start small. Some people, they want to start with a phase. For some people, they want to just start with the food of the whole cycle. For some people, it's about movement through the cycle, especially if I've got somebody, with HA, hypothalamic amenorrhea, over exercising, missing periods. Maybe that's what we're starting with because that's the priority.
Yeah.
So it's very dependent. I think just lean into wherever you're going with this. There's no right or wrong. That's the magic in it. It's just helping you to work smarter as a woman and moving away from this go, 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 which has ended up in a lot of us, in my opinion, having more perimenopause symptoms
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
anxiety and stress and overwhelm is a problem because we're all busy, career, motherhood, aging families. There's a lot of stress at this age. So it's about kind of making it, the path of least resistance and the least stressful way that you can bring into your life as well.
I love it all. I love it all. I want to implement it all and know it all and just, live it,
It's
live
never
it.
always right. It's never always right. I get it wrong. And then I
Mhm.
realize, I'm like, why am I exhausted this week? I should be my ovulatory phase. I should be on it. And then I'm like, no, because you were on it the week of your period, going boom, 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 and did not take the rest that you needed.
That's
And
really
that's what can
interesting.
happen.
Because that happened
Yeah,
to me
that's what can,
recently. I had my period, but I actually felt like quite energized. So I was like, I'm just going to go with this and did loads of stuff. And then I was like pretty much floored, bedded the
yeah.
following week. And I was like, oh, like you're saying, I was like, this should have been my go, go, go time. And I'm like, oh yeah, probably because you didn't rest. And
Yeah. And that happens a lot. I always say, yes, it's brilliant to think, oh, I should feel like that then, and I should feel like that then. But like I said, we're human and we're not robots, we're not computers. It doesn't always go to plan. But I guess the question is then when people say to me, I'm not feeling like that, why am I feeling so angry and moody in my ovulation phase when I should feel calmer? And then I say, okay, well, estrogen's at its highest as well. So maybe we're not actually metabolizing or detoxifying that used estrogen effectively. It's building up. Hormones are at their highest in the middle of your cycle. So knowing how to work with each phase, but then if it's not aligning with what you should be feeling, if that makes sense, then it's digging into why. Well, what
yeah,
did you do the week of your period? Did you take a bit of downtime? What did you do? Did you, support, you were bleeding a lot? Did you support yourself through food and making sure you were getting food rich in iron and zinc and magnesium and things to
mm,
support you? Because the phase before will influence the next phase as well.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's working with each part so then that the next part, it's almost like, a factory. It's like I've done my duty now, I'm passing it on to you in this phase and then to you in this phase. But if you're go 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 throughout,
hmm
then eventually it is going to be burnout,
hmm
and that's adrenal fatigue, which
hmm
means then your gut's probably all over the place. You're probably not detoxifying, metabolizing hormones. Maybe your body's going, not ovulating this month, stressed out, I'm going to shut down a little bit. So it's about kind of listening to the whispers, I suppose, what your body's telling you. It'll give you a really good indication as well of some starting points where you need to work on.
hmm Oh my gosh. Yeah. So much to think about and process there. I'm like, oh, interesting, interesting. It's like you're just speaking to me, to me. Not everybody else is listening and watching, I'm just like, oh, thanks. So yeah, hopefully everybody else is getting like so many takeaways from this as well. One super quick last question before
Yeah.
I ask you to share how people can actually connect with you. Um, a little bit of witchy woo, red moon and white moon.
Mhm.
What does this mean for people?
So we have to think like, yonder years ago back, when we didn't have computers and TVs and everything else, women were influenced by the moon. I think you can see my moon picture behind me. I'm a bit moon obsessed as well. By a local photographer actually in Ireland. I bought it years ago.
Beautiful.
Um, but we were very influenced by the light
Mhm.
of the moon because we weren't involved with all the electronics and stuff. So then it was a case of if you were like, so new moon is about, if we kind of think of the cycle, if you have your period, it's about stepping back energetically. We want to rest. Like I said, you can still be proactive in things, but it's about stepping back. And just like the moon, a new moon is disappears from the sky. We don't see a new moon because, obviously
Mhm.
swapping sides. So it was very much about a period and the new moon. Ovulation was associated with a full moon. And it kind of makes sense as well because it's energetically, I mean, some people are still very influenced by the moon. I get a lot of people saying about their
Yeah.
children. Um, kind of like tantrums that can get quite
Mhm.
tantrumy and stuff as well. Some people are very affected by moon phases. I'm a Cancerian. So I would be very, I suppose I kind of jump between moon cycles and period cycles. And a lot of people ask that, well, how do I know what if I'm not bleeding with the moon or the new moon? So if you are, and I got wrote this down so that I was making sure. So red moon, you would be bleeding with the full moon. So it's
Mhm.
almost like the opposite.
Mhm.
And then the new moon would be a white moon cycle. So it would be the opposite way. So in olden days, it was like you retreat, it's a bleed with the new moon, but it's the opposite with a red and white moon.
Mhm.
There's no right or wrong. I always feel as well, it depends on what stage you're at in your life
Yeah.
as well. So, you know, women as well, with a white moon, if it was more kind of fertility and family orientated, but then it kind of changed into kind of the wise woman and the crone as well. And I've noticed as well, like I might look at a year ago when I was bleeding with a new moon, but
Mhm.
then I look and I'm bleeding with a red moon.
Yeah,
It
mine
changes.
shifts sometimes, and it's really
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, just that kind of introspection. Yeah, the full
it
moon, red
changes.
moon, how you feel about it.
It changes what's going on in your life as well. I think as well, it's like anything, it's a bit like money manifestation, isn't it? If you are energetically working with moon phases,
Hmm.
and then what are you putting out there? Is it that you are looking to improve your fertility or get pregnant, or are you at a different stage, you
Hmm.
know, that you're more nurturing and you're looking after family, but you're not in that fertility stage as well? So it changes, I think, what's going on in your life. And I think, and it doesn't have to mean, you know, you little things working with the moon that I do, you know, is I bring my daughter for full moon walks, you know,
Hmm.
when we, you know, that's our kind of thing that we do. You know, we'll put our crystals out. I'm not an expert by any means in this. It's more a little obsession, because I would have a little witchy
Yeah.
woo in terms of, if you're looking for that kind of very strict nutrition approach, you're probably not going to get it. As I'm looking at my tarot cards and candles here in front of me,
Yeah.
I think clients walk in, they just see crystals and Buddhas around my little office and stuff. So I just think it's just about bringing that little bit of old,
Hmm.
connecting with the old ways again, and you know,
Absolutely.
getting out in nature and you know, walking through the forest and picking wild garlic, and you
Hmm.
know, if there is a full moon, being aware of it, putting intentions out there, whether you're into it or not. It's just you're setting an intention and a goal of where you want your life to be. So whether you want to work with moon phases or your cycle.
Hmm. Oh, ace, ace. I know we could like chat all the things all day, all night, and we did say we're going to say super succinct, and I don't think we're doing as
Yeah.
succinct as we thought we were going to. So,
Oh, we've been good. We've
but
been good.
for everybody that's listening, how can they work with you, connect with you? I will share all your links and things, but what do you currently have on
Mhm.
offer right now, or like how can they connect with you?
So lots of transitions, obviously, with the new moon. So I am doing I'm starting a group coaching program January 8th, which is Monday, January the 8th, which is a 6 week program. And that is going to be where it's suitable. I had someone ask me, is this suitable for me because I'm fertility? Is somebody else perimenopause? That's why I'm not putting an umbrella term on it. It is suitable for
Yeah.
anyone who is looking to support their hormones and their cycles, whether you're trying to get pregnant or not, or fertility, because I'm going to be covering all of it. It'll be 6 weeks, 6 modules. And then phase two, we dive a little bit deeper, and that will be after Easter. But people have to do the first one, the groundwork, as I call it first, you know, and that's an introduction into exactly, well, what are your hormones doing through each phase? Do you even
Mhm.
know anything about your hormones? I've got some women who are on HRT and they still want to do this, because even those combined together is a game changer for women
Yeah.
as well. So I have that starting in January. You can reach out, but you can. I'm normally on Instagram doing some silly things. So it's Michelle Walsh, nutritionists, and as always, I do one-to-one online as well. So just connect, say hi, come along, say you listened to Susie's podcast. So I'd love your feedback as well. But no, thank you as well.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I shall be in touch soon, and I will keep following you, following along for the ride and your
Mhm.
Irish adventures. And
No.
yeah, I will share all your details, and hopefully everybody signs up for your New Year program, because that sounds like a really great place to start on this journey.
It's a good foundation. I felt as well, I do have longer programs, but I know in January I want people as well to get those big and small wins, even in the six
Mhm.
week. I find that it will spur people to make the changes. And I just hate seeing people, to be honest, you know, 2 weeks in January setting goals and then it's gone. So
Yeah.
this is nothing to do with calories and weight loss and everything else. It's getting down to the nitty gritty of, like I said, building that structure of a healthy house as a woman, no matter what age you're at.
Mhm. Amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you being here, and we will catch up soon.
Thank you, Susie. Thanks, everyone.